One thing to know about me, I just love depotting stuff, and it's because it gives me the ability to do pretty much anything I want. And today I'm going to try duping the Lovers palette by Cosmic Brushes. The Lovers collection, it's one of the prettiest that I've seen this year, and I know the year has just started, but it's already looking so good. From the concept of the palette all the way to the color story is so perfect. So Valentine's, but make it interesting. I know I would use it if I had it. However, I have way too many eyeshadows that I need to give love to, so I'm going to try to make a dupe and see if I can talk myself out of buying it. So let's just get into the process. I'm going to start with Unconditional, which is described as a light pastel pink matte. And for this I chose Scrape from the Culturals palette. From Cosmic Brushes, I depotted it, it's not magnetic. Next, it's gonna be Attraction, described as a muted mid-tone pink matte. And for this one, I chose Sunsets from Blend Bunny's blends. Blend Bunny is actually starting to sell magnetic palettes, like their pans and palettes are magnetic, but the blends is not one of those. The next shade, it's gonna be Choices, described as a plum metallic. And for this one, I chose ACI 4. It's from Adept Cosmetics, and this one is actually magnetic, which is why I love that brand. Next shade, it's Connection. It's described as a super shifty multichrome that goes from pink to purple to green to gold. And for this one, I chose UAP from Adept Cosmetics Element 115. The shift in this one is pretty spot on because it goes from pink to purple to green all the way to gold. The only thing that's different here is the base. This is way more cool tone, but it works. Now the next shade is gonna be Harmony, which is described as a burgundy matte. For this one, I picked Covet from Blend Bunny. This to me leans more purple rather than burgundy, but it's like an in-between those two, and I think it's such a nice one. I just wanted to use it. Next one, it's called Faithful, a pale shimmery gold metallic with a soft pink shift. And for this one, I chose Flash from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. Next one, it's gonna be Affection. It's described as a light neutral nude. And since it's supposed to be just neutral, I chose Cutout by Blend Bunny. This is just basically my skin tone but lighter. It's gonna be good for highlighting. Next shade, it's called Self Love, described as a muted warm peachy mid-tone nude matte. For this, I chose Irish Cream from Glamlight. Again, they're not magnetic, I had to depot them and stuff. Next is gonna be Companion, described as a sparkly rose gold duochrome. For this one, I chose ACI 5 from Adept Cosmetics. It's a rose gold multichrome rather than a duochrome, but it fits. Next, it's gonna be Soulmate, described as a warm nude brown matte. For this one, I chose Saddle from Diddy's Signature. This is a brand that I'm just trying. I actually just got into them because I saw that they were making magnetic palettes and they looked pretty cute. This is actually from the Fearless Holiday palette, and maybe later I'll review it, but today is not that day. For now, I am done with the first half of the palette, the warm side. Next is gonna be the cool tone one. First it's gonna be Devoted, described as a light muted mint green matte. For this, I used Hannibal Bates. It's from Adept Cosmetics, and it's not as muted as it says here, but I think it's gonna work. Next, it's gonna be Promise, described as a cool green base metallic with a warm gold green glow. For this one, I chose Yellow Browning from Adept Cosmetics. It's from the Flying Fiddles palette. It's lighter, but it does have the shifts mentioned. Next, it's Mutual, a sage green matte. And this one I had the hardest time finding a shade that looked even a little bit like it. So I had to settle for Moss from Adept Cosmetics. It's from the Unity palette. And you can see it's mossy enough, but to me the other one looks slightly cooler toned. Now moving on to Communication, it's described as a sage green metallic. And if I had trouble with the other one, then you know I had trouble with this one. I ended up settling with Pump and Bottom from Adept Cosmetics. Now, this is Trust, described as a deep neutral green matte with a slight blue leaning base. For this one, I chose Garage Band from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. It's a discontinued palette. What is it called? Sugar and Grunge? Yeah, I think it was. This one is not as cool toned as it's describing, but it's what I have. Now, moving on to Truth, a sparkly rich teal blue metallic. For this one, I chose Cloud 9 by Glamlight Cosmetics. It's the part 2 of the collaboration with Michaela. I swear they did some pretty nice metallics for that one, and again, not magnetic, I depotted it. The next shade is called Commitment, described as a deep blue black matte. For this one, I chose Forest from Cosmic Brushes. This is actually from the Muse palette, and I think it's such a nice one. I've heard people say that the one in the palette is basically like a black, so I kind of got this one wrong, but I think it works. Now moving on to Partnership, described as a muted teal blue matte. I do not have that many muted shades, so I just went with Friend Zone from Glamlight. It's from the Barbie palette. This is Loyal, described as a neutral light silvery blue metallic. And for this one, I kinda dropped the ball because I see the original one has little specks of blue, but this is just a straight metallic. It's stunning from Adept Cosmetics. And lastly, this is Values, described as a powder blue matte. And for this one, I just chose Dream by Blend Bunny. It's the lightest blue that I could find in my collection. And that's the end of that row and the end of the dupe. I think I did an okay job considering I did this right after the announcement. I wanted to put these two to the side just so you could see how they look as a color story, and I think they look nice. I don't think they look that accurate seeing now all the swatches that they provided, but I think it's a nice color story. Anyways, I'm done with this. I hope this inspired you to reach into your collection to look for similar colors, or perhaps to start reaching into other palettes. You don't have to depot them, I just do this because I think it's pretty useful for me to see the actual palette as an object, because I think that kind of tricks my brain into thinking it's something actually new in my collection. And not gonna lie, I actually find it very fun to take my things that I already have and give new purposes to them. In this case, making palettes that are not magnetic. It's just so fun and useful for me to stop buying so much stuff. My shades with this one are not muted and the undertones may be off, but also lighting affects colors a lot, so I'm not going to be able to tell just how close I got. This is actually a lesson that I had to learn last year because I did the exact same for the Winter Wonderland palette and I still bought it, and that's how I realized that I had done such a good job that I basically bought the same palette twice. But you know, I had to buy all of these palettes before I could start doing this, so it's like a catch-22, I think. But yeah, that'll be all for me for now. Thank you for watching and have a lovely day.